Hello, today I'm going to do my first sketch in my brand new watercolor book. This book is by Hahnemuhle and it is 100% cotton watercolor paper, and it's my first time trying out this paper. So I'm going to sketch a quick landscape. I've done a pencil sketch and I'm going to start painting. I'm using a flat or a chisel shaped brush, trying to keep my brush strokes really quick, limiting my brush strokes as well, which is one of the reasons why I decided to use a slightly larger brush. Today's reference picture was not taken by me. It is a landscape which looks quite warmer than where I am, and the colors are quite different compared to the colors that I normally use. So I'm starting off with ultramarine blue for the sky and a tiny bit of orange to create a few rain clouds, or just the color of the clouds in the sky. Because I'm working really small, I'm not going to do too many details of the clouds. Next I'm going to paint in the faraway hills. I'm using ultramarine blue with a touch of permanent red, and I'm just going to keep my brush strokes really quick. And to show some foliage in the foreground of those hills, I'm going to mix in some ultramarine blue, tiny bit of Winsor Yellow, and to tone it down I could add a little bit of orange as well. And just going to place that in front of those hills. And now I'm going to work on the foreground. The color that I'm going to use here is Winsor Yellow, the bright yellow, and again quick brush strokes, making sure to leave a little bit of brush marks as well as I go along. Now I'm going to mix a little bit of ultramarine blue along with the Winsor Yellow just to get a very bright green. And the more blue I mix, I get more greenish color. I'm going to add a few brush strokes for texture of the grass in the foreground. And you can also see I've only loosely mixed the blue and the yellow, and I am aiming for it to mix a lot more on paper rather than in my palette. I'm going to add a little path along the side of those trees. It's not really there in the reference picture, but I thought it would be interesting to have a path along the side of the trees. I'm yet to paint the trees, which is on the right side. And now I'm going to start painting the trees, starting with the trees that are receding away from us. And then I'm going to add some neutral color in the foreground, which I can work on later to create the trees. And I'm going to place some dark green for the foliage of the trees. For the dark green, I have mixed ultramarine blue, Winsor Yellow, and to make it a little bit more darker, I've used just a little bit of permanent red. And I've got this really deep green, which I'm going to use for the foliage. I'm trying to get the larger shape that I can see in the picture. I know it's a group of trees there, but just looking at it as a larger shape at this stage. And maybe now I will start to define a few trees as well in the foreground, just painting in some tree trunks in the foreground. I may not do much in the background as I do not want them to stand out. And I'm going to add a few brush strokes in the foreground, maybe a little bit in the path as well, just to show some texture of the path, to define the path a little bit more. And finally, I'm going to add a little bit more deeper green for the foreground tree.